Greetings, programs. Back in the fall of 2025, Crestron added a device driver for a scheduling assistant. In other words, the ability to pull a room's calendar information into the program without having to know either Python, Simple Sharp, or C Sharp to do it. In other words, you just need a basic, simple Windows interface, but there are a few things to get it going. Fortunately, the methods that it uses to access this are pretty straightforward. We're going to take a look at this through the eyes of Microsoft O365 and using Graph through, just like we would with a scheduling panel, right? The application auth flow to get calendaring information into the control program. Why do this? There are times. Do I think it's every system? No. But there are edge cases where you wish to enhance the automation capabilities of the control system in regards to the entire system as it goes through its schedules in the day. We think about it, right? Scheduling panels with occupancy sensors understand the calendaring for a room. If you have a unified communications device in there, it understands the schedule in the room and will give you some triggers from it to tell you what it's doing, such as the in-meeting signal or the current string output of a room status, idle, waiting, dialing, those kind of things. When you need the calendar information or scheduling awareness, as I like to call it, in the control processor, it's kind of been a task, and I'm saying it's no longer that. So, without further ado, let's go on a quest. Let's put calendaring in the control process. Here we are in Simple Windows, and this is where our quest will begin. First thing we've got to do is figure out the things we need to do. And they're pretty straightforward. We're going to need a stub program, so I'm going to start a new Simple Windows program. I'm going to target my control processor. You could also, any 4 series will do the trick. So I'm going to do my CP4N. If I just simply add a touch panel, such as a TS1070, I have a place to land my signals that has a built-in MSP so I can see them. So, stubbed up a program. I'm going to head over here to my database, and I'm going to go into the database. Sorry, wrong one. Go into the database. I'm going to come down to Crestron Certified Device Drivers. And then I'm going to give myself a little room to read. And if you scroll down into the S's down here, you will find a hidden little jewel that showed up when you weren't looking. So this is the Crestron Scheduling Service 1.1 device driver. Let's drag it on in over to our program. Once again, this is a proof of concept type scenario. I'm not really writing a full program here. I'm just trying to get this to a point where we get information from the calendar. We can see it in debugger. We call it good. What you do with it after that's totally up to you. But if we take a look, there's some error indicators, but under the scheduling service part, there is a bunch of fields that have to do with things like the three digital signals, right? Started, not started, and ended. Kind of good to know, right? For display purposes, things like the organizer's name, and then start time as a string, end time as a string. And those are going to be our targeted pieces that I'm going to go for. There are several other things that it does in here. How do I know what it does? Well, the good old F1 will open up the help file for us. What we need to do is we need to look under general notes. Now, if you read through the general notes, basically it's talking about this thing, this configuration you got to do. Well, this is a little different than the usual, say, display device driver that you may have used, where you have to copy a file over into the user directory, add the strings to tell it where the paths are, and those kind of things. This actually uses the entity model, which is a slightly different thing. It uses a configuration tool. So there's a couple pieces to that. So the first stop on our quest to understand what those pieces are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to hit the link where it says, hey, for configurations, see, and I'm going to open up that. And here we are at the help page for device drivers. And like I said, this one uses the load of V2 or entity model device driver. So I'm going to click on that and it's going to take us straight to it. If you read through this, this is actually a step-by-step guide on how to utilize, right, and configure and access the tools to install the entity driver. So instead of making you read through all this, because at some point in the future, after watching this, you need it, it's always here for reference. But it does mention a couple things we're going to need. And so there are 3 things we're going to need. The first one is it talks about here you need the Crestron device driver configuration socket API, which is available in the directory. Second thing that you're going to need is you're going to need the Crestron drivers SDK. If I right click on this, open in a new tab, it'll take me straight to where I need to go. And the first thing that I'm going to do, since I'm already here, and the first piece that we need to complete our quest is this SDK, because the configuration tool is in this package. So I'm going to go ahead and click download, accept the terms, and down it comes. Now that we've got that zip file downloaded, I don't need that. The next thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need the actual device driver itself. So what scheduling services do we work with? Well, to figure that out, we need to go to drivers.crestron.io. So we head over here. If we go under choose type, we can scroll through the list or we can go look for what we're looking for. So if I just type the beginnings, you'll see that there's a scheduling service category, just like the modules. I'm going to select that, and you'll see we get 2. We got Google and Microsoft. You can take a look at the help files here to let you know what's available, what they do, and how they go in. And in this case, you'll see that we've got several ways of coming in, and the supported one, the one I'm going to use, which is used by most of our touch panels, is this information. So we have the help file to know what it supports, what features it can and can't do. So now you have full information. So we need that driver. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and download the driver. We now have 2 of the 3 pieces outside of the scheduling module we need. Before we go off and extract those pieces, I'm going to come back here to the program, scroll up, and I'm going to find the device driver configuration socket API. Now, once again, this is what lets us get into the configuration and utilize the configuration tool. So for the sake and purposes of brevity, I'm going to go ahead and get this populated and tied into my control program and the touch panel just for just so that I have signals available. All right, Control I and finish the module. One last piece that makes this thing work is down here in device ID. This one here is important. This is actually a name. I know it shows a decimal value in there, but this is a name that uniquely identifies this interface. So in my case, I'm going to give it the name of capital O 365. With these things in place, so basically program tied in, a meeting tied in with the necessary signals across the touch panel, I think we're kind of good to go. We have this part ready. So we can go ahead and compile. Yes, there we go, going into program 1, slot 1. We're going to ship it. Okay, while that's off doing that, I'm going to go to my downloads, and there are 2 things. So I'm going to go ahead and extract all in place. So following the instructions, we need to load a tool. So within the SDK, we come under config tools, you'll see that there's this one. Once again, I'm just going to extract it in place because this is what I want. this is the folder we're going to load. Now, granted, there are nested folders and stuff in here, but if we read the instructions, it wants us to send this whole folder intact. So I'm connected to my control processor. I'm going to come to functions, mobility project. I'm going to say I'm going to send a folder to internal memory. I'm going to go select the folder, which is currently located in downloads under config tools. And that one, yes, we know, but we want to choose the one that we extracted in place, and I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to send it. So that's now sent it. So there's a path there for us to follow to do the configuration part. We already have the driver part extracted. So now we just have to be able to enable the API so that we can use it. So next tool, I'm just going to jump into Simple Debugger. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click Select Config, and you'll notice the config enabled. We are now ready to actually load the driver. I'm going to go ahead and launch me some Chrome. And cp4-driver-configuration-tool.index.html and go. Of course, we're going to get the connections not private stuff because of the certificates, self-signed. Right, and then it's going to ask us to log in. I'm going to log in, and here we are. Now, the one thing that we have to just remember is that name we gave it. So I now want to add a driver. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to select the unique name. Remember, for me, it was O365. I'm now going to upload the driver, which I had extracted in place, and I'm going to submit. Now, after you click the submit, you need to give it a minute. It's doing some things. One of the first things it's doing is it's loading the driver to the control processor. Once it's done loading the driver to the control processor, what we'll get is we'll get a green flag, and we will begin the process of configuration. So I said that we were going to use graph. Our environment, of course, this supports multiple environments, but we are just in a general commercial environment. And then your access type, app only. Looks a lot like a scheduling panel, don't it? And then now we come to the parts of the thing. So we're going to need the client secret, the app ID, the tenant ID, and the calendar ID, which is the calendar's email. I'm going to add my client secret. Now I've added my tenant and client IDs. I'm going to click next. It's going to take a second, but it says, hey, validation complete. This means that it was able to actually go in and get stuff. I'm now going to say retrieve configuration complete, click next, ready for control, exit. It tells me it's running. I come over here and I see nothing. Well, that's because I didn't have anything in the calendar. So the way the module works is it grabs the calendar for the entire day. When it returns information, the start time and end time will be in current local time zone based upon time zone set in the control processor. So let me invite the room. Now, here within the polling cycle, which is every couple of minutes or so, it's going to get that information because it's the first meeting of the day. It'll end up in meeting one. And boom, there you go. You'll notice that we've got a not started. When 10 o'clock rolls around, we're going to get us started. And unless I change something or move the meeting, right, this is all going to fire off. If I move the meeting, the time is going to update. So this tracks that day calendar. So there you go. That's scheduling awareness for your control process. Pretty straightforward. I think it's pretty cool. It's one of those tools that you may not use in every system, most likely won't, but when you need to give the control system some inkling of what's going on in the room, this is one of those methods. So between sensors, calendar information, control, there's automation opportunity. If you ever need it, it's there. I'm Otter. That's hidden in the stack. See ya.